Marriage and moving and shingles. Oh my! Oh boy, what a summer it has been.
Oh yes, Carol and Kristen here for a Luminous Ministries life update. We have taken a little bit of a hiatus from our videos, but that is because there has been a lot of life happening.
Amen.
Yeah.
And more than we can even remember, because there's been so much life happening that I can't even think past yesterday.
Yeah.
But we know that a lot has happened, and we know that through it all, God is moving because we are permeated with the Spirit, and we know that He's always at work in all of our lives, no matter how busy we are, no matter what season we're in, no matter what's going on in our lives, whether it's joyful happenings, not so joyful happenings, whatever happens to be going on, we know that God is in it with us. So whether we feel like we are hanging on the cross with Him or celebrating with Him and a myriad of emotions in between, God is always present, and that's the joy of living the Christian life.
Absolutely.
We're not in it alone.
No, not at all. But speaking of the suffering element, do you want to start with your shingles?
Yeah, so I've had a wonderful summer of experiencing, the joy of shingles. And I do say the joy of shingles because there has been some good that's come out of it. I have a whole new respect for chronic pain. I have a whole new respect for the shingles virus. I have a whole new respect for suffering and what it means to physically suffer. And so it brought to mind a lot of the sufferings of my relatives who have suffered profoundly in the past and who are suffering now. It brought me to mind of people and friends of mine who I know are suffering, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally suffering, and a suffering that just kind of leaves a hole in your gut and your soul, and it's always there. It never really goes away. And so, yeah, I've been kind of experiencing that malady, and it has been an interesting journey of trusting in God to help me find the energy to do the things I know I need to do, despite the fact that I'm in physical pain. So we're getting more toward the end of the experience, but it's been going on for quite a little bit here. And so
I had never seen shingles before, and wow, it's intense. And she has bore this cross very gracefully, because I would have been having everybody doting on me 24/7, and I would have been like, yeah, don't call me for anything. I'm good for nothing.
Well, it's a small burden to bear when you consider what Christ did for us on the cross. And so I
know you've done a lot of redemptive suffering with this too.
I'm trying to offer it up for a lot of situations and people. And I'll never know where that redemptive suffering led or what it did. But I do know that as Catholics, we very much believe in redemptive suffering. And so I believe that someday I will get to know where all of that went. And I tried not to complain. Probably the person I complained to the most was your dad.
Well, that's understandable. You gotta have an outlet.
But he was awesome through the whole thing. He was very he was very sympathetic and very helpful, and always asking me what he could do to help, and was very good about making sure I had what I need. So thank you to my husband for being my nurse. And I'm not used to having someone be a nurse to me. So I'm more used to the other way around. But, we have to be able to give and receive. And so that's part of our Christian journey as well, is being graceful enough to receive the gift of help from folks when we need help. And I needed help.
Well, and that's a beautiful witness to your marriage vows in sickness and in health. And that kind of transitions us into, we have another wedding coming up in the family. Yeah. So my sister, Katie, got engaged. And so we have been celebrating that
Or
season.
Jonathan. He's known by his family as Jonathan. Katie has called him John. So we call her Katie and he calls her Kate. So, we've all we go with all the names.
That's
when Katie was born, I said to my husband and I decided that we love the name Catherine, we love the name Katie, and we love the name Kate. So no matter what anybody called her, we were going to be good with it. Yeah. So now her future husband calls her Kate. And I like that too.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So we have that coming up. So we've been busy with all of that planning, wedding dress shopping, and preparing for that very sacred day. So we're looking forward to that as well. That's been another life update. Another one that begins with an M is that my husband and I moved. This was not something that we were planning on doing. We were just kind of casually keeping an eye out there, and this house popped up, and we said, you know what, that would just be be a great neighborhood to raise our family. And so we did a big move and sold our home. And so we went through the whole process of having to make sure everything was tidy 24/7 as people are walking through the home, as you have, at that point he was, was he 6 months, 5 months? I don't know. A little guy.
4 to 6 months old.
Yeah, at that time. Yeah. So, just craziness. But we finally got moved this past weekend. And speaking of helping each other, you're kind of talking about that too. Like, just so many people who reached out and helped us with that move. And we're so grateful because it takes a village. And it's amazing what you can amass in 3 years of marriage. So we're also having a garage sale. Keep an eye out. Because we need to rid out. But that's been
like it, love it, gotta have it.
Yeah.
Right?
Or no, it's like it, love it, or lose it.
Oh yeah, like it, love it, or lose it. You're right.
Like it, love it, gotta have it.
I'm thinking of the ice cream, Cold Stone ice cream. Cold Stone ice cream. Yeah. Like it, love it, gotta have it.
Yeah.
But we're talking about
like it, love it, or lose it.
Like it, love it, or lose it.
Well, also like it, love it, use it, or lose it.
And I've gone strictly to use it or lose it. No, I still love the love it, use it, or lose it. And you know what? As we apply that to our faith, love it, use it, or lose it. If you don't love it and you don't use it, you will lose it. Yeah. And so, you know what? That's really important for you to bear in mind as you think about maybe, I don't really need to go to Mass this Sunday, or I really don't need to take time to pray every day. I don't really need to have, go into the inner recesses of my soul and have some quiet time with the Lord. I did that yesterday and I'll do it again in a couple of days. We get kind of in habits, and our habits will dictate how much we will continue to love and use and our faith. And so, it always amazes me how God blesses us when we take the time to spend time with him, and we open up that spiritual book, or we pray that extra rosary, or we go to an extra Mass. There's always grace flowing through those experiences. Yeah. And so, and you actually get to a place. I can remember plenty of years in my life where I wouldn't say that I really loved going to Mass. I didn't really love it. Mm-hmm. I love it now. Mm-hmm. I love it. Mm-hmm. I crave it. Mm-hmm. And so I really feel like my soul yearns for it. And so I love the Mass. I use the Mass for my spiritual benefit. And I hope that I can keep that mentality going, because I know that if I don't, then I'll lose it. I'll lose it. And as they say, as one of the great saints, I can't remember, said, we become dangerously indifferent. When we stop receiving the Eucharist, when it becomes habitual, we become dangerously indifferent. And then all of a sudden we have just lost the faith, and it can happen in a blink of an eye. So don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. Mm-hmm. Right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think sometimes, when you are going through a tough time, like you suffering with your shingles, you're relying on God even more. But to remember, even in the good seasons, that you still need God just as much as you did on that right. day of great suffering, and so to use those times of suffering as the example of, okay, how much was I praying? What were the things I was doing? Okay, those need to become habits, because something that's really been sticking with me lately is just how much we need to be disciplined. Yeah. You might not want to do something, but we see in other areas of our life how much we need discipline. You right. might not always want to go to school, right. but you need to go to school because you need to learn things, because you need to be able to be a contributing member of society, and you need to continue right. your own personal development, all the great things that we know education provides, but we don't always want to do it. It's a discipline to go. It's I don't want to go, but I'm going anyway, and so same thing with our faith. You know what? I often feel like that is the devil totally on our back. Yeah. Yeah. In that moment, right before you're about to do something, whether right. that's to go to confession, whether that's to go to Mass, to pray the rosary, any myriad of ways that you pray and commune with God, that right before you have this big, I'm too tired, I'll do it later. Or, right. You know what, I'm just not feeling this right now. And the thing is, you just got to push through that, because as you get into whatever prayer form you're entering into, you receive those graces, you get past that mental block, right. and then you're so glad that you did. So it's coming back to those creating holy habits and everything.
It happened to me this weekend. I was, it was early Sunday morning, and we were away for a wedding. And my goddaughter got married this weekend. It was a beautiful wedding. I'm so happy for this couple, Abigail and Thomas. And I'll tell you something that happened there too. But early in the morning, my husband got up to go get breakfast at the hotel. And I always start out with my meditation, or I shouldn't say always. I try to always begin my day with prayer and meditation. And so, but beside me on the nightstand was a copy of Where Women Create, which is one of my favorite magazines, and I love it. I love it. I love there's another one called What Women Create and Where Women Create. And I really love these magazines. And I went to reach for it, and I'm like, no, this isn't spiritual. This isn't going to enhance your spirituality. I mean, it could. You could, work it around to that. But I decided, no, I put it down and I grabbed my spiritual reading. And oh my gosh, it was the piece that I sent you. It was so powerful that I literally took pictures of it and sent it to Kristen to read as well. And, I won't get into it, but had I given into the temptation, which I have done many, many, many times, and, because I'm human and we all are. And if you've had that happen, don't kick yourself around. I mean, okay, you didn't do it. You didn't keep that discipline going, but you pull yourself back up and you start again, because every moment is a new opportunity to begin again. And we should remember that. So every moment, new opportunity to do it God's way. Yeah. So anyhow, I felt very blessed by putting the magazine down. I did eventually pick the magazine up and read an article in that, and I enjoyed that. It was very life-giving to me too. But that spiritual piece was mind-blowing. So, but another little thing that happens, talk about your summer and God's always at work, and not just your summer, but any season of the year, God's always at work no matter what. So my husband and I can literally say that we always go to Mass no matter where we are. And it doesn't matter where we are. And so I'm Googling, Masses, and there's a Mass at 8:30 in the morning, like 7 minutes, 3 miles from where we were staying. And so we hop in the car and we head to the St. Mary of Assumption, I think it was. Anyhow, outside of Miamisburg, Ohio, and 8:30 Mass, and we barely got there in time, but we did, and we sit down, we pray, beautiful liturgy, beautiful prayers, beautiful music. The pastor did a fantastic job with the homily and just making people feel welcome. We go to communion, we're praying after communion, and all of a sudden, this woman who's walking up to communion reaches over and gives my husband a huge hug. And I looked over and I thought, now this is odd. We're not in our hometown. Yeah. This would be odd even if you were in your hometown, right? It isn't normal that people hug you walking up to communion. Anyhow, it turns out that there were some good friends of ours, the Gaylors from, who used to live in Bryan, Ohio, and have since moved to Arizona. And they were with some other friends and people we know, the Hetzes. And so so here we are in Miamisburg, Ohio at a random Mass, a random time on a random day. And we randomly run into these wonderful friends who are also part of our church family, who we have fellowshiped with for decades, and our children grew up together. And it was such a gift. It was such a gift from God. And we all recognized it as that. And afterward, we were able to get together and talk and have, just fun catching up. And what a gift. But, when you reach out and you make the special effort to do whatever, God does bless all of us all the time. We don't always recognize it. Yeah. We're always, we're kind of busy. We're human doings, and we are constantly, we're just distracted. We're constantly distracted by life's happenings and our to-do list, which is obnoxious. But God is always present, always present. So pay attention to Him today. Pay attention to what He's doing in your life, how He's working and moving, and whether you're dealing with shingles or marriage or moving or whatever, planning a wedding, whatever you happen to be doing, in the big things and the small things. And honestly, a lot of times I think God presents Himself in the small things. Oh, yeah. And in the what some people might consider to be the mundane things of life. I find that for me personally, that is where God most presents to me. So be on the lookout today for where He is making Himself known and present to you. We hope you've enjoyed this life update. Yeah. And we can't wait to talk to you again soon. If you've been so inspired by the mission of Luminous Ministries and you want to support our ministry, please visit www.luminousministries.com/donate. Praying that you have a blessed and luminous day. We'll see you again soon.